Good morning. This is the Blainsville webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and get more information and find out information on previous shows at our website, which is behind me, blainsworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and third country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Katie Jones, who's a founding member of a new theater company in the Asheville area. And you know me, Katie, you beat me to it. You already waved to everybody. But for the benefit of the three people in Asheville who don't know who Katie Jones is, if I could kind of ask you, just give you, I know a little bit about it, but if you kind of give the Reader's Digest summary of your background, keeping it under an hour or two. Can you do that?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I grew up in South Carolina and studied theater at Clemson University. And then I bounced around from Florida to New York to Chicago, landed in Chicago for a few years and worked in professional theater as well as with Second City and Improv Olympic. And so I studied comedy and theater while I was there and worked a million side jobs. And then met my husband because we were both working at Trader Joe's. And by way of Colorado for a few years, we ended up in Asheville. And in Asheville, I landed at the Magnetic Theater because I was working with this company called Asheville Creative Arts, which is a wonderful company in the area that does youth programming. And yeah, and so then I started doing some shows at the Magnetic, and over the course of time, became artistic director there. But I also have worked with the Asheville Fringe Arts Festival for many years and had taken a break, but I'm really excited to be back to it this year. And so I'm a writer, I'm a performer, I'm a director, and a puppeteer. And Asheville is a great place because you can be a jack of all trades and people don't look at you like you're nuts.
And perhaps most importantly, we should add you're also now a mother,
Yes.
in your spare time. But how cool is that to
It's great. So Adam and I adopted our son Miles. He was born October 18th, and so he'll be 4 months old tomorrow, and he's the best.
now do you see Miles becoming a theater person down the road?
I will say he is very charismatic. He loves people. He will look you right in the eye and has smiles for everyone. So we'll see what that means going forward, but I feel like it could easily happen.
By the way, I love the name too. So his name is Miles?
Miles.
Yeah. So Smiles for Miles, or what a tie-in. Miles,
Yeah.
the smile guy. But anyway, back to you. So when you were growing up as a kid, did you know you wanted to be a theater person?
Yes.
What,
I did my
what,
first play when I was 7 years old. I was Gladys Herdman in the best Christmas pageant ever. And I found my calling. I did as much theater as I could all the rest of my time in school, on stage, backstage, anything I could do. And yeah, so I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I got a scholarship to go study in college and just took it very seriously. And I had parents who supported me in that. And so I was able to do some internships and things like that. And there it was.
did you act in high school also?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Keep in
Yes.
mind, Katie, I may have told you this in the past, but I'll offer my services in terms of a fundraiser for your new theater group. But I've told you this idea, haven't I? I still want to have everybody do their very first show. You know, like you were
Hmm.
7 years old. Do they have a record of that anywhere?
Oh, my heavens. I don't know. I hope so. That would be so funny.
But wouldn't it be, or to show your son, down the road? But play with that idea. Nobody's taken me up on it, but I'll volunteer to help you with it. We need to get a more than a 30-seat theater, but everybody would recreate their very first role and would tape
Hmm.
it, and I think there'd be interest in it. Do you?
Oh, I think there totally would be because we've got so many amazing characters in our town, and to see everyone recreate their very first role would be so funny.
But okay, so the offer is there if you want. I'd help you with it. I've always wanted to do that. And again, I think a lot of people would have fun with it, especially mothers now, or people who want to be able to show their kids what the role is. Your role as 7-year-old. Do they have a record of that anywhere?
I feel like I need to ask my parents. I've never seen it, so I don't know if it exists. There's photos, but
Well, that follows. Okay, but keep that in mind and offer. I'd love to do that with you somewhere down the road. Just a fun thing to do. So you acted all through high school and college. One of the things that always amazed me about you is, yeah, you do all these different things. Even in terms of, at Magnetic, you'd always be running around, but you were also acting, you were writing, you were directing, you were selling concessions, I guess you had to do a little bit of everything. And when you're involved with a small theater, that's what you do, right? A little bit of
that's what you
everything.
do because it just needs things all the time. And the way that we work is that, everybody kind of does everything a little bit and everybody's willing to pitch in. And you don't really hear the phrase, "That's not my job," because the place is too small for us to be able to say that. It's just the way it is, very communal.
Well, what you told me also off the air, I thought was kind of cool, that you don't even have titles, right? Everybody's sort of a founding member, and
Yep.
intentionally, you don't have one person in charge.
That's right. We are an egalitarian company, so there's five of us, and we work together toward making decisions and choosing projects. And right now, we're sort of keeping it small, and we have our next few projects picked that we're sort of creating together as a group. But then eventually, I think we will branch out and work with some other playwrights, and we have been excited to bring in this cast for this first show because that's just been a delight. We have half the cast is improvisers, half the cast is actors, but they're all blending together to do a show that is both improvised and scripted. So it's cool.
And one of the things I used to love when you were in another life, I'll try not to mention the other theater, over and over again, but I loved it, the fact that you would bring in different people and you'd bring in and be exciting. They'd come be as part of the show, bring in a lot of original new work. And is that intention you'll be continuing to do it with this group?
Yes. So new work is definitely still the dream. And so, for example, this first play that we're doing with Phantom Lamp Theater Company, we're doing Close Quarters. And that's by our playwright, Abby Alman, who was the tech director at Magnetic for many years, is the tech director at ACT right now. But she's also a playwright. And this play, the idea is that there's an apartment and people live there who are living people, but there's also a ghost that lives there. And the ghost would rather that the living people got evicted. And so they've recruited us, the audience, to help them haunt the living out of their apartment.
So has this been done anywhere before?
No, this is a
Oh,
brand new play. This is the first and only production because it was literally created for the space we're in at Lamplight AVL. It's a studio apartment. We've brought in chairs and cushions and couches and all this kind of stuff. And there's two sections the audience can sit in. So you can elect to sit in the interactive seats, meaning that you agree to be talked to, touched, etc. Maybe someone sits in your lap. There's also seats for those who would rather just watch, and you will be left alone to just enjoy privately. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure
I love,
situation.
I love the concept. What do you think people will do? You think most of them will want to get involved?
I think it's really going to be divided, and we'll see. I think the nature of the different performances could be really wildly varied depending on who comes because I have several friends who are shy and who would not want to be interacted with. And I know other people who would be like, "Yeah, let me get in there." So we'll just have to see.
Well, you used to do that sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, at Magnetic, right? That there were some
Mhm.
shows that they were interactive, and you
And
asked the
sometimes we'd
audience.
say that there was a splash zone as such. So,
Right.
if you're in the first two rows, just know you're going to be interacted with.
I remember that. Well, so this play, is there a splash zone?
Yes, there's
Oh,
going to
wait.
be very
Oh,
clear
oh.
delineations of where you should or should not sit.
Well, I'm glad you told me. So if anybody's listening to this, and hopefully they'll pay heed to it, should they dress a certain way, or they have to decide beforehand, or what do you tell them?
No, it's not really you're not going to get bloody so much as you are going to be asked to participate in hauntings by moving around and creating distractions and that kind of thing. So it's really just about, do you want to be part of the performance or do you just want to watch it?
Now, has so this hasn't theoretically been performed anywhere else except in rehearsals.
That's
So
right.
the people, in terms of trying to think of myself, so how do you recommend that people come to dress in this?
I would say if you want to interact, especially be comfortable. So
Right.
something that you're very comfortable just moving around in. Honestly, I would say don't worry about being fancy. Pretend you're going to the gym.
But and also you don't have to worry about getting blood on you. Is that correct?
No,
Okay.
no, nothing will be put on you. It'll be pretty clean, other than
But
just interacting.
but you could get wet though.
But no, I don't think so. I think it's maybe there's a I don't want to give anything away. There is a section where there may be some baby powder, but that would probably be the worst.
Okay, well, I'm glad you told me that. So active or interactive. And I'll tell Cynthia, it's funny. She'd probably choose not to be active. I choose to be interactive, so we'll have to flip a coin there. So in terms of the play itself, then how many people are in it?
So there's 8 people, and I'll just list them out. So we've got Bethany Prescott, Stevie Ramirez, who are playing the ghosts, and then we've got Nora Tram playing the upstairs neighbor. We've got Cagney Larkin and Morgan Miller playing the lovely young couple that lives in the apartment, and then we've got Jamie Knox playing this cultist guru, Shri Barbara, and Delina Hensley playing the good Reverend Ricky. So it's quite an entertaining time. Oh, and I can't leave her out. Elizabeth DeVault is playing a character called Hot Goth.
I don't know about half of them. They're really good. I can just see, especially Delina, who I love seeing perform. She's just a hoot to watch her perform. And Elizabeth, great cast. So these people have been in rehearsal now for the show already for how long?
Not very long. We started mid-January. And we had a few rehearsals and improv workshops, right, to make sure that everybody were on the same page. Because some people didn't come in with improv experience, so we made sure that everybody got up to speed. And then we've had 2 weeks in the space to get ready.
So now the people in this show and people come to it are going to see there's a lot of improv involved in this.
Yes.
It's almost all improv or
No, it's about half and half.
yeah. So something else you're doing, I think is kind of cool. That people come see it. There are different endings you were telling me off the air.
Yes,
What?
so there's 3 different endings, and the audience chooses the ending. I don't want to say how, but they do. And and even the actors don't know which ending it will be until the audience member makes this choice.
So what was it? It was the show with Clue the musical or something. Wasn't that the idea too? That there were
Yes.
interactive.
So like with Clue, we're so for most of our shows, the audience member will make a choice. You'll see one ending. But
Right.
for our final show, you'll get to see all 3 endings. And we're gonna kind of do it Clue style, where we're like, and reset. And then we go back to
Oh,
where we were and then do the next ending. And so you'll get to see all 3 in a row.
well, you're tempting me in terms of because that's fun to see. How long are the endings? And each are like 15 minutes each.
I'd say between 15 and 20 minutes. Yeah.
So how did Abby get the idea to write this?
How did Abby get the idea to write this? Well, I think what it was is we knew that we were going to apply for the residency at Lamplight ABL. And I will just plug that really quick. So
Yeah,
Lamplight
explain. I'm not
ABL,
familiar with it.
it is amazing. So it is a studio in West Asheville that is
Right.
above another studio called Drop of Sun. Drop of Sun is really focused on musicians, making music and doing tracks and all this kind of thing, recording. And Emily McDaniel and her husband run that. And then they bought this space that was upstairs and use it for artists of all kinds. And so when you get a residency, you have a month to do whatever you want, but there has to be a community based element. So if you're an artist, you have to do an exhibition. If you're a theater company, you have to do a performance or a workshop or something like that. So we found out we got it. And then Abby was like, okay, apartment. And somehow, and Abby is just someone who loves ghosts and ghouls and demons and goblins and whatever, right? And also conspiracy theories. And so she just, I think that given her background, it just kind of sprung from her. And so you'll see she is a very funny lady. But I will also say that something that I love about Abby, because Abby wrote a play at Magnetic called The Splatter Play.
I remember,
That was all, yeah, so sort of
yeah.
haunted housey kind of idea, and also wrote one of the parts of our last play there called New Queer's Eve. And in both of those cases, she uses humor as sort of like the basis of everything, but the play ends up having so much heart, and this play is no exception to that. It's really meaningful as well as funny.
And that splatter play, correct me if I'm wrong, but that one you could get splattered. There was a lot of.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, there was an actual splash zone.
I remember that well, and there was, but I remember it well because it went beyond. Even though you had the splash zone, some shows it went, beyond the splash zone.
I know.
That's where it's really unusual. Let me say that too. So the so she wrote this play, and she must have written it quickly, or how long did it take her to write it?
Yeah, she had started it in the summer last year, and then kind of took the fall to write it, and she and Jason and I would have writers meetings where she would show us what she had, and then we would offer feedback and that kind of thing. And everybody in our group is very collaborative like that, and so we can kind of give suggestions, and nobody takes it personally. You just kind of workshop everything back and forth.
Now, so that's the thing that you're doing is I thought this was your permanent place, but you're only here for just this one show, and you might
Just the
be
one show.
elsewhere.
Yep. So all of our shows going forward, the goal is for them to be site specific, meaning that it's not a traditional theater space. So it might be, an apartment, it might be a hotel, it might be outdoors, it might be a warehouse, a basement, all this kind of an idea. Just because, well, there there's it's hard to find theater space in our
Oh,
town.
sure, yeah.
And we also thought, well, what wouldn't it be cool to do theater in places that are so unexpected and different? And so if you create a play for a specific place, then it can never really be done again. And so it really is this ephemeral theatrical experience for the people who were smart enough to be there.
And one of the things you did in the past, Magnetic, and it segues into something else you're going to be doing, but I always remember the one show you did where it's just walking around, it was such a fun experience. It was really well done. And you're doing something similar, right, with the new company here?
Yeah, so we are our next project most likely is going to be in November, and it's called Sex Play. And it's based on an old play called The Laron, where you start a play with two characters, and then one of the characters leaves, and the other character stays, and a new character meets the second character, and then so on and so forth. And then eventually the last character meets up with the first character. And so they've gone all the way around in a circle. And so the idea is that the audience will follow these characters from scene to scene rather than sitting in one place.
And again, the one I saw it was along the water, right? Where was
Hmm.
it? Where,
It was on the Reed Creek Greenway, and it was called Something I Cared About.
but who would have thunk, that you'd be walking, but it was a lot of fun. It's just something I'd never seen before. So this will be somewhat similar. You'll be walking along.
Yeah, and it probably won't be outside. It would be inside this time. But, because something I cared about happened because of COVID. That was what happened because we couldn't be indoors. And so we just had to figure out a way to be able to do something anyway. And that was our way of doing theater safely. And then it became just a fun thing to do. And so we want to do it again.
And we were lucky too, because at the time it was relatively good weather, at least most.
Oh, because it was February.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
But it was really nice. So now one of the exciting things I guess people can look forward to is that they come to see it's the name of the theater is
It's a Phantom Lamp Theater Company.
Phantom Lamp Theater Company. It seems like again they're always going to be seeing something different. Is that will probably be the case?
Yes, that's definitely. It'll always be something different and unexpected.
So
Um,
will usually you think the original works?
yeah, that's all we want to do because there are great companies in town doing works that are pre-published, so
Right.
many, and so our focus is really to be able to create brand new things together.
And so one of the things that I know you always did, and I thought was a great thing you used to do, having to do with you workshop shows, and you
Hmm.
actually explain that process because I know some haven't yet come to fruition. I don't know if they ever will, but I always liked how you did it. It would be over a period of time, right? It would take you'd see it, they'd workshop it, then you put it on. You did that a couple of times, right?
Yeah, and so we had a play at Magnetic. We had a thing called the New Play Development
Right.
Program, and with that, we would work with the playwright over a period of months or even years, as such as with the Sparrow and the Whippoorwill, for example. We worked with Tom Godleski on that for 2 years before it got its own production on the main stage.
And
Whereas
by the
some
way,
other
yeah, by the way, just on that one, that was one of my, I just loved it. It's just, it was so well done, but I didn't realize it took 2 years to develop that.
Yes, because Tom had the music down. That was
Right.
that was kind of already there. But he didn't have any playwriting experience. And the
Right.
cool thing about Tom is that he was curious, willing
Right.
to learn, and so he was able to create something really cool.
What a
Um,
great
and then,
story.
other things just ended up being stage readings and then, weren't necessarily destined to go beyond that, but I think the playwright still learned from the experience. But with Phantom Lamp, it's really that we're doing everything together as a group, and it's kind of an experiment every time because we're creating it in real time and then performing it and not doing a whole lot of pre-planning. So you're really seeing some like raw creativity in the space in a way that's kind of different than we used to be.
Now, I guess it also sounds like a lot of it or most of it will be improv based. You-
Not necessarily. I think there's going to be a mix of scripted improv and then also device theater, meaning that rather than a playwright just sitting down writing, it would be a group of people sort of writing and creating together in the same space. So I don't know if you know them, but there's a company in town called Adam Cara Theater
Right.
Company.
I
Aaron
know.
Hartley from
Yeah.
Fringe runs it. So they do a lot of devised work. And that's a lot of what I did in Chicago. And I went to graduate school at this place called Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. And so I got a master's degree in devised theater, and I'm really excited to use some of those techniques to create some work with people I love.
One of the cool things about Katie Jones is the fact that you do so many different kinds of things. And so I'll put you on the spot. Out of all the things you do, you have a favorite. Is it writing? Is it directing? Is it producing? Is it acting? Like I'm always disappointed sometimes because I've only seen you act just a few times, but I love watching you as an actor, but I don't see it. You're doing all these other things.
It's true, and I will actually say, acting is my favorite. It's definitely my favorite, and I don't do it as often, partly because I'm willing to be a producer and not everybody is. And I know that I have the skill to be able to put something together and give opportunities to other people. I also like directing. And so, people are always looking for directors, but in my heart of hearts, I love performing, whether that's acting or improvising, whatever, performing is my favorite.
And it's interesting you say that because I'll ask a lot of other actors, performers, what do they prefer? And oftentimes they'll say directing, but they're not being truthful to me because the reality is they don't have to memorize lines. So the director, even
It's
though
true.
everything else, but a lot of people, I guess as they get older too, that happens. They have more trouble remembering lines, so they switch to directing. In
Hmm.
that case, what was the show also you folks did involved? Was it your sister wrote it, or
Oh, it was called The Legacy of Amelia Aldean.
and I just loved it, and she wrote that play,
Hmm.
and then you eventually directed it.
Yeah.
Oh, what a fun play that was, though. So did she write other stuff?
Yeah, she's had other plays that she's written, but I will say, so she's a performer too, my sister Laurie Jones, and she and her husband Paul Vanosic have a company here in town called Adesto Theater.
Oh,
And
really?
so they do full-length improvised plays in different genre styles. So it could be like Star Trek or Jane Austen or horror or fantasy, rom-com, all different kinds. So anyway, it's really different, but they studied this when they were living in Los Angeles and then decided to bring it to Asheville.
Because when you brought the play to Asheville. She wasn't living in Asheville at the time, was she?
She was living in LA still. Yeah,
Okay,
she
that was
she
it.
moved here during COVID time, and then she and her husband had a baby, and they just decided to stay.
Okay, very cool. So we can look forward. Maybe she'll do something with your new company as well.
Oh yeah, easily could.
Okay, or you'll do something with her company. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely want to. But yeah, I think both and we perform and work together a lot. She and I over the years. So.
So also in terms of improv, I don't know if I've ever had the pleasure of seeing you do improv, but it's something else that we're
Oh,
doing.
well, I'll do another plug. You can see me because March 13th, I'm going to be in a show with my company called my improv troupe called Secret Spice, which is me, Jason Phillips, and George Awad.
Okay, really cool.
And so yeah, we'll be in a series at Asheville Community Theater at 35 Below called Improv Tonight. Chris Martin runs it,
Okay,
and
yes, yeah.
anyway, I highly recommend it. You'll get to see three troops that night.
Okay, because was it last year? I don't know if they'll do it again. But they did a whole improv festival. They did a show on that.
We're doing it again. It's going to
On
be May, I think 8th through 10th or something like that. Is that second weekend of May is when the
okay,
improv festival is.
who's going to run that?
So Georgia Wad and Paul Dixon have a company called Double Dip Productions, and they run the festival. But I am the workshop coordinator for the festival, and hopefully, if my teams get in, we'll be performing in the festival as well.
Another thing I love about Katie Jones is the fact that you do, it seems like 73 things at once. I'm listening to you and I'm blown away by the fact that, we talk about one thing, but no, then I'm going to do this, and this. You must be very good at scheduling, are you?
You know what? This is true. I should send you a picture. So, my husband and I have a giant calendar on the
Right.
wall, and I'm very good about filling in all the things so that we can, especially now that we have a child, we really have to schedule everything out so that we know that somebody has him all the time. And so, I do like to do a lot of things, and so does he. And so, between us, it's a lot to coordinate.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to you is incredible. Now, is he involved in theater at all?
No,
Yeah.
he works at Trader Joe's, has for 20 years, and he loves music and going out for trivia and very much he likes coming to theater and watching, but that's it.
But you've never gotten involved in anything?
No, it's funny too because if he's very funny
Right, he
and
is,
people
yeah.
always say, "Oh, he's a funny guy," but he is also actually in front of a crowd very shy. He couldn't speak on stage.
Really, because he has a great smile, he's a very friendly guy. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised you haven't gotten into improv or not.
I will say the closest thing he's ever gotten to that is we used to host a trivia night together at Noble Cider,
Yeah.
and he was the announcer and did a really great job with that. But yeah, he's not an actor for sure.
Or I'm thinking out loud, you'll have to get somebody to write a play involving trivia,
Right.
But I could see it. Because even just talking to you, and is that how your mind goes? Like when you see something, do you come up with 8 million ideas as a result? About I like
Yes.
do you jot down your ideas for plays or things like do or how
I
do you
have
do
a
it?
notebook that sits beside my like on my nightstand. And so sometimes right before I go to bed, I write down a bunch of things so that I can remember to think about it in the morning.
Do you have
So
the same token on the other extreme? Like, do you ever dream about stuff, then wake up in the morning and write it down?
yes, things come to me in dreams all the time. And I find it really valuable actually.
And do they come in terms of plays you want to do or things you want to put on
Sometimes
sometime?
just a snippet of something, or it's like I just imagine a scene or a character. But yeah, I do that all the time. And it's just part of who I am, I guess.
When you write, do you write? Are you a type person gets up every morning at 7 or 6 o'clock in the morning and writes for 3 hours at a row? Or how
No,
do you
I
do
wish that that's who I was, but it's not who I am. I need a deadline. And so typically because I have ideas and musings all the time. But if we decide we're going to do a project, then it's like, okay, now it's go time. And so I tend to write in sort of spurts. It's like, okay, this weekend, I'm going to just bust out a first draft. That's a lot of the way that I tend to work.
And when you tend to work that way or any way you work, do you then go straight through on that? Is that all you devote yourself to, that one project at a time?
Oh no, Blaine. I'm very like, 5 or 6 projects at a time kind of lady, as you've been hearing.
Yeah. Well, no,
So
that's the same thing. I'm looking at my desk and same thing, about 27 projects at one time. But that's how you like to rock and roll? You like doing a lot of different
yeah,
things?
it's just the way life goes, because I think what it is I am a person who likes to say yes. And when you say yes to a bunch of things, you're not thinking about it at first. You're just like, oh, that sounds cool. I'd like to do that. And then all of a sudden you realize you've signed up for 4 things that are all happening the same month.
Well, it's cool you said that because I try to have that same kind of attitude. Or if my wife asks me something, the answer is yes. In
Mhm.
comparison to, I always remember my ex-wife, I'd ask her if you'd do me a favor, and the answer was always, "What do you want?" And I just want people to be supportive of you or saying, "Let's do it." And that's really cool. You'll say yes to most projects.
Yeah, a lot of projects. Yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing that keeps me from saying yes is well, now that I have a baby, I'm trying to be more judicious about my time. And so I have said no to some things lately because, well, you really can't do everything. And I am also learning that there is something to overcommitting. And so I'm trying to balance it out so that it's still fun.
But even listening to you, I'm blown away by the fact that, you know, typically I'll ask somebody what's upcoming in the future, and you already have 17 projects, and each have dead, I can't believe you'll be doing, I loved it. What was it? The festival, the improv festival, and then you do all these different things, and you do, and to your credit, the nice thing about it, you do them well, so,
Thanks.
well, but it's true, a lot of people do a lot of stuff, you do it poorly, but most of anything I've seen you do, I really enjoyed, so that's kind of exciting.
Well, I
So,
appreciate that, Blaine.
so you get through. So this weekend it's nice. So you have it off, or you're helping, but you're not performing this weekend. Is that
That's
correct?
right. So I was the improv coach for the play. And
Oh,
so
cool.
Jason's directing and he's essentially running the scripted parts of the play. And then I did improv workshops to help people prepare for the improvised portions of the play. And so now we're at the point where I'm just sitting in on rehearsals and giving notes.
Okay, that must have been fun though, was it, to do
Oh, it
the?
was great. It was great. We did 3 like 2-hour workshops and then here and there I'll just work different parts of the play with people, but it's been really collaborative.
And a last question, even though probably with this crew you don't really need to do it because really fine performers and actors, but do some people, I guess you should never say never, but aren't good at improv or can't do it or can't learn it or
Oh,
something?
I think that most people can learn it. I think it's just a matter of whether you want to learn it. I think a lot of people are scared of improv, even though they don't need to be. I think it's just a matter of getting used to the format because it's really different than acting.
So, but I will say though that anybody who does improv, it's a very helpful skill as an actor and vice versa. But especially actors, if they picked up improv skills, it would really help them, wouldn't it?
Oh, super. You never know when something's going to just go awry on stage and you suddenly need to improvise your way out of it. And I've also, frankly, found it helpful in life because there are definitely times just in the real world that I found myself in a situation being like, well, I don't know what to do now. Well, we're going to just figure it out. And that's the improv motto.
I love the attitude. Or what? Again, I've never really taken improv courses, only once. But the key is say "and," or that's the key
Oh,
word.
yes, and
Yes, and so in life, I guess you can do that. That's interesting. Can you do that in life
oh
as well?
yeah, I mean, to me that is what I do in life. Yes, and this is how I'm going to contribute. That's usually what I will say, right? Because the idea of yes and is you don't just say yes, you help get to the next piece of information.
And the one
And
thing
so
you
you're
never
progressing things forward.
The one thing you never do is say yes, but, right? That's
Yeah, exactly. They tell you not to do that. But it's funny because once there's all those rules when you first start improv. Don't ask questions, don't say no. And then once you get farther along in years, you can do that stuff. You just have to get good at it first.
just do it naturally. Katie,
Yeah.
couple of things then to recap. So the upcoming show, it's coming up it's this weekend, right?
Friday opening night. Yep.
So if people want to see it, how do they get information?
So, phantomlamp.com is our website. You can also look us up on Facebook and Instagram. And the show is called Close Quarters by Abby Alman. It opens this Friday, February 20th, and runs through Sunday, March 1st. Tickets are $25. And we do have usher and box office slots for anybody who would like to come, but needs a reduced rate or a free ticket.
And so this weekend it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Thursday? When is it?
This weekend is Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, and 1 show on Sunday. And then next weekend is Thursday, Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, and 1 show on Sunday to close.
Is that tough doing 2 shows?
Yeah.
Okay, I can imagine. And so best bet is to go to the website, find that information. They also have contact information if they want to track you down. They can track you down there as well, or
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody is welcome to email me at any time at Katie@phantomlamp.com.
Okay, and you also, I think, right on Facebook and other social media.
Oh yeah, Facebook is a great way to find me. The young kids would say I'm an old lady because Facebook is the main thing that I still use.
Me too. I'm trying to get not into. I'm trying to get into Substack. Is Substack or
Oh, Substack. Yeah. It's a
not
lot to
into it.
read, man.
Yeah, exactly. Katie, it's always a pleasure. Great seeing you. So happy for you with you and your husband with the baby, and hopefully I'll see you if not this weekend, sometime soon. You be well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Blaine.